Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining. And I think we have a fair bit of people joined in already. So my name is Chandika, and I'm the CEO of Creately. And I'm really excited to share with you what we have today with our new interface for work. So we call ourselves now, call Creately the new interface for work. Why do we do that? What's the reason behind it? And what's all this change about? So I'll cover that in the next few minutes. So as Creately, we've been in the visual collaboration and the diagramming space for a while now, and our primary focus from day one as a company has been to enable teams and organizations to really work well together, whatever their workflow might be. So when we started the company 14 years ago, our first objective was just that as well. But our overall end-to-end goal was to help in the entire work life cycle of teams trying to get things done. Now, our first focus as a company was in visual collaboration and diagramming. But now, after more than a decade of time, we are going back to our roots and establishing the purpose behind the company of supporting all parts of the workflow. So, what is work management? For us, work management is going from ideation, planning, execution, analysis, and knowledge. So whatever you're doing, if it's a new project, you'll have some phase of ideation, brainstorming, and then you'll have detailed planning, then you have execution and getting the work done, and then you have analysis, and you have retained knowledge, which you want to keep as the organization grows and matures. Now, execution is where most of the activity happens. And that's where most of the effort or the concept of work management is mostly applied to project management. But when we look at work management, it's all these pieces. And more often than not, these pieces are not connected in the current industry, the current offerings that are out there. So this is one big thing that we're trying to solve with Creately. So this work management, the space, is being affected by a whole series of issues. So you have remote teams. Everybody works remotely or works from home. Lots of people, or hybrid. Teams are now global, shorter tenure. People don't stick around organizations that long. And there's a lot of churn and change. So you lose a lot of knowledge that you have in the organization. Getting started in a role is harder. It has to be smoother and faster so that you can actually onboard people quickly. Everyone uses multiple applications right now to get things done. Throughout your day, you'll be context switching between 3 to 8 or 10 apps, depending on what your role is. And speed of change, it's accelerating rapidly. And the expectation from outside is that your organization is agile and fast to respond to change. So how do you manage work in a context like this when you have so many little pieces lying around and people are spending a lot of time just being busy, just trying to find things, trying to figure out where things are, trying to find the bearings? That's generally a challenge for lots of people. So when we look at the visual collaboration software space, which we were in and established for the longest time, we are mostly established in the ideation and a little bit of the planning stage. So you can do mind maps, charts, designs, and that's where you usually stop in terms of visual collaboration. That's where most of the other players in the market also quite focus on, where we can run workshops and meetings and brainstorming sessions, and that's where that stops. When you take the next big chunk of what work management is, project management software focuses on execution. and their planning capabilities are fairly low, but they do offer some planning capability. But most of the time, it's in a separate document, which allows you more flexibility of what you want to do. Because if you're trying to plan out and describe what you're trying to do in a project management tool, it gives a very rigid structure that you cannot easily adapt and change as you go. So finding and figuring out how exactly to do something or plan out, that's usually in the domain of docs. So that's out of scope for project management software. And knowledge management software usually focuses on knowledge management only. And there's a new set of platforms like Notion and Coda and a few others that are trying to attack this problem from a holistic perspective. But they do not have, so their structure is a document. And the ideation phase in terms of notes for collaboration is good, but it's not great. Right? So that's why most people use a canvas for ideation. Then the planning usually happens in another document. Execution, they do some stuff, parts of it, and then analysis and reflection is left out, and knowledge is also knowledge they're quite good at because most of these products are document-based, wiki-based sort of structure. Now, Creately, our purpose is to do the things that we do well, really well. Ideation, we do quite well. Planning for documents, for both visuals as well as written down stuff. Creately does it well. Execution, you're able to execute a project right inside Creately. And the analysis parts, where we do support various forms of analysis, and the retained knowledge stays inside Creately. This is the foundation of why we think Creately makes a difference in the current industry status quo. And it's supported by our core capabilities of having visual workspaces, custom databases, task management, multiplayer collaboration, wiki and notes, and modeling and diagramming. For the longest time, we've been in these two things, the visual collaboration and the modeling and diagramming space. And that's what the functionality we've offered. These new things, custom databases, task management, and wiki and notes, these are new capabilities. And all these things, though, right? All these 5 steps, they are usually products of their own. You would switch context between these, go into 5 apps to have achieved this entire workflow. And how can we Creately deliver everything end to end in a single space without making it overly complicated? How can we do that? That's really the challenge. And that was the challenge that we took on when we refined and redesigned Creately for this purpose. And all this is really supported by our freeform canvas. So having a canvas to do a lot of these things enables you to have creative freedom. You can just take something and move it wherever you want, do what you want. That feel of flexibility is what drives creativity and free thinking, which makes it great for ideation and planning. But then that's where it stops, because you can't do a project plan on a whiteboard, do you? So how do we solve that? How can we have that flexibility of a free-form canvas whiteboard and still have the structure to be able to run a project? So let's see. So if you look at the Creately interface, just clear everything for a moment here. The interface has changed. It's much cleaner. It's some of the stuff is tucked away, but everything is still there that we had from a couple of days ago, which you probably might have seen in our product. It's all nicely organized so that it tends well into a product that allows you to focus on the content and not on the application itself. So all the functionality, all the new features, the shapes, and all the elements are in these panels. So you can easily find that and easily see what's available and add whatever content you need onto the canvas, simply like that. And on the left-hand side, we have a few new things. So I have a navigation here. Folders are what we had for the longest time, that you have your content in, you have tasks, data, and history. Now, let me click on navigation. This is very interesting. So when you think about any product, what a product like Creately or a product like Google Docs, it's focused on the document itself. Now, when you're in an organization, when you're doing some work, in that context, it's not about a single document. It's also about the entire body of knowledge, all the pieces, all the important things that you want to link to and work with. So this navigation panel, there's a navigation panel per folder that you can organize and structure any way you want. So when I click here, I navigate back to the top of this, the same document. And everything else is what I've set up for this demo in this fictional company called the HRX Workspace. Now, let's get started with jumping into a simple example. Now, I'll click on goals and OKRs. Now, this view might look like a normal diagram or a structural chart for a bunch of objectives. So we have a few objectives at the top, a couple of key results, and some tasks. Now, the foundational difference from what you see, what's available on the canvas here, is that all these pieces are data linked. So there is a database on Creately along with what's on the canvas that stores all the information. Yes, you might say, every application works on a database, but this is a database that's for you, for the end user, that you can build a new database of things that you can reuse inside multiple views. So I can take something from here and I can drop it here, and it says 100 leads from EMEA. Let's see if this is actually a database. Type update here, and this thing also updated. So that's a neat trick. The text gets duplicated, but it goes beyond that. If I go in to the panel here, it has a little bit of notes, and it has a panel called data, and it has all these fields that I can update and change, and that's reflected in the database. So if I change something here, I change the target, I'm going here. Let me change the notes. And if I come in here, the notes are updated, right? And while I'm here, let me quickly introduce you to our notes panel. Now, so each item on the canvas on Creately, every item in the database in Creately has a note section. And this note section is a full-fledged document builder. And this document builder has all these building blocks of headers, bullet lists, to-do lists, block codes, tables, files. So I can do anything in here. It's the header. And so on and so forth. And it works like a beautiful table that you would have in Microsoft Word and so on. And it's really easy to use, simple to use, but it's inside this item, 100 leads from EMEA. What usually happens in a product like this is that you would have a block like this, and you wouldn't have any other detail. The detail you would have in another document, which tells you, okay, how do I get 100 leads from EMEA? What is this whole thing? But in Creately, that context is saved right inside this panel, right? And that that allows you to do so much more than having just the big picture. All the details are here right where you want to find it. Now, this view also allows you to embed data fields into that form. So as you can see, there's a lot of stuff here. And that stuff, you wouldn't want to look at this on a daily basis. So you can insert some fields here. So I can add a new data field, a number, a text, a checkbox, an option list, tags, dates. I can attach people to it, task roles, estimates, and due dates. I'll get to that in a minute. Now, can I add a text field here? Let's call it region, and put some value in that. And that's actually a field that goes into the database over here. And I can now sync changes to the type. So what is the type? The type is a key result type. So it's shown here. It's a key result. So we have objectives, key results, and tasks in this structure. And this is the goals database that I'm on. So there are 3 key results. I can add a new key result if I go into custom databases, add the goals DB. And inside the goals DB, I have a few options of new things that I can add. So I add another key result here. And it says 100 leads from EMEA because I synced the changes from that type. New KR. And it shows here, this is a new KR that's updated in the database. Now, so this is great, right? So now you have items on the canvas that are from on the canvas that are with the database that you can reuse, and simply being able to reuse this, right, allows you to do unlocks a whole lot of use cases. So you might have, so this is a very simple looking chart, but in a real world scenario, you'd have hundreds of these things for a large organization, and nobody's going to go through each and every one of these and figure out where things are. It's just too much work. So what you would do is you would build subsets of the same information. So in a normal setup in organization, in today's world, what people do is, okay, you have this big document. I'll take a copy of that document and I'll cut off what I don't need. I'll have a subset of that information. I'll work on my document and keep things there. And the big document can stay where it is. So the main view is generally not updated. The sub-document that you are using is the primary update. So when you want to get a big picture view, everyone else in the organization has to go through hundreds of these documents to really understand what is the current status, what is going on, right? Because the status is in the working document that's in your organization, that's in your folder that you've shared with a bunch of people. But in Creately, if you're building a doc, if you're building multiple views, you just use the database capability. So I can take this new KR, move on to a new space, or even a brand new canvas, right? And expand on this key result with a bunch of tasks that I'm going to be working on to support that key result. So, and I might have hundreds of tasks to support this key result. And also, just because this is one item on the canvas, it does not work on itself. So one other key thing that most products are unable to do is build sensible relationships between data. So what you usually do is, so you have, the primary tool for most organizations, most people, to build a kind of a data app is spreadsheets, Excel or Google Docs. And those products do not allow you to build relationships between data. On Creately, because it's a real database, you can build relationships between data. So I can link these things, and it says, just a line. but I have this thing here called key results, and I do that, and then there's a relationship system. Key result connector is created here. So if I go in here in this task, that's task overview. In this new KR note here, I have in my lists objective market expansion here, right? And the key result is task. Let me get over here to give a better example. Now I have this 100 leads from EMEA, and I have these key results. Translated website is there because this is linked. If I link this one as well, it'll say just a line, but I can change that to key result. And if I go in to the panel, they'll show me I have 2 key results contributing back to the product. So supporting tasks, it allows me to see, okay, translated website and new lead gen campaign. And and the beauty of this is that I can actually change things from here, right? And it'll reflect everywhere you want to look. So also another thing that I didn't show you on the canvas, everything is just here. So let's go in to another example. Let me use my navigation panel, and let's go into a feature request ideas. So this is another example, a toy example that we've set up to explain how you would use this in a product organization or an application builder sort of setup. Now, what I have here, so we're building a software product here, and we have a set of feature requests, and you can add these feature requests as new items. We go in here. So the product DB has feature request, user story, functional area, and theme. So you can add new feature request by simply bringing it in and typing in that, right? So what this allows you to do is it's very simple. It's a bunch of post-it notes, and you can reorganize them. You can structure them however you want, and stack them, group them. The flexibility of a canvas is there. Now, going from a set of a thing like this, what happens in a typical product? Our competing products which work in this space, everyone has these post-it notes, but they remain post-it notes. But what does Creately do? You can take the post-it note, right? So let me update this new Google Chrome extension is what I want. And because it is still Creately, we have these full-on customizable features that allows you to change any content with prototyping capability. So change that. And I have this. So I have this prioritization Kanban board set up right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the database, and let me find this feature request from extension, right? And that comes in as a post-it as I put it in initially. And I'm going to put it in the Kanban board. When I put it in the Kanban board, it changed into a card, which fits better in a Kanban board setup. And when I go in here, it added me a new new item called the product status. I can change product status here, and it'll move in the Kanban board. And I can have any kind of thing in here. I don't just have to have the feature request. I can have other things, a user story. So another key thing in Creately is that everything is really flexible. So usually in a structured project management application, you have, okay, in this board you can run content from this project. On Creately, that's not the case. You can bring any content from anywhere and put it in these structures that we provide, and those are fully customizable. Yeah, so I'm just checking if there are any questions so far. So let's go into some other capabilities of Creately. So these from these ideas, we have some user stories that we have that have been set up here to explain what this is what this is about. Now, once you in any setup, if you're I know most of you are not from product management or technical perspective, but in any project you have a whole bunch of things that you want to work on, but very little time, so you have to do prioritization. So usually prioritization happens on a based on some kind of metric, and it's not a you can do gut feel stuff, but you would generally work on some kind of metric. And for product management space, there are established prioritization frameworks, and one prioritization framework is called RICE. It compares reach versus impact and effort versus confidence. So what I've done here is I've added a couple of 2x2 grids. So these are available here under frames, grids and boards, Kanban boards, 2x2 grids, timelines, and XY charts. And we are adding more and more containers so that you can work on these things. And I have, so this calendar integration I have here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to copy and paste this. And once I copy and paste that, it's also still the same data. When I change it here, it changes in the original one as well. Now, when I drag and drop this onto the canvas, it changes into a pin. As you saw earlier, that post-it note, the sticky note turned into a card. In this view, it makes more sense for it to be a pin, so you can actually see where it is and where it points to, and it transforms. So in Creately, the shape and the data are detached, so you can represent the same information in multiple viewpoints with different kinds of information, whatever you want to highlight, and that allows you to build advanced things, something like this. So this kind of integration I've added in here, and if I go into the panel here, we have in notes. I have the RICE score. I have 4853, and the impact is 80, and confidence is 24. If I change this here, impact is 30. It jumps on the canvas. If I drag and drop it here, move it here, that data also changes, right? And I should add this to the other grid as well, because I am prioritizing on 2 dimensions. So this itself, right? This act of prioritizing this same item on 2 dimensions is also a very difficult thing to do on many applications, because they have a very structured set of things that they'll allow you to do. But on Creately, you can actually build what kind of prioritization structure you want to do. And this does not just apply to this domain, it applies to any domain, because what we've done is we've built these foundational containers like 2x2 grids, Kanban boards which track status, timelines which tracks time, and other things like maps for location, and so on and so forth is also coming. and it allows you to customize this stuff. Now I have this pin in these two places, and if I go in here, I change this. The values change, and this rise score change. Let's have a better view of it. The header and insert existing data fields. And what do I want? I want the rise score. I want the product priority. So it also changes, because I have these labels here: high, low, mid, and ignore. It's hidden. It'll change the. It'll show what the intended status is. So this rise score changes as I change the position here, right? So 5347. So how did that work? It works because it's actually a formula. So I have rounded, and it's multiplies reach by impact, by confidence, and divides it by effort. That's the formula. And in Creately, we have formulas that allow you to do everything. So we have most of the formulas that you use from Excel and Google Sheets in Creately, so that you can build advanced calculations and models and systems in Creately using these mathematical operators and logical operators and so on and so forth. So what that allows you to do is you could model a business model that goes from one end to the other with various flows. If we have more people coming in, how much production do we need to do? How much output do we have? And what if our market size expands? That kind of calculation is usually with a lot of relations, a lot of VLOOKUPs in Excel. On Creately, it's just a matter of dragging and dropping, drawing the line, and then building the formula to do the math, put it from one end, and get the result from the other end. So this kind of capability is available in Creately with this innovation that we've made. So now if I take the same thing and let me color this nicely so that it looks nice on this canvas. Do that. And drag and drop it onto this canvas. And when I do that, it swaps into a bar. And I can change this, and the dates change. So the start date and end date of the changes. And what that means, right? What this is this timeline is a flexible Gantt chart that you can build to basically design any kind of Gantt chart that you want to show, present, or work with. And it just works, it's actual data. And on this, you can have build dependencies, build the blockers, and document any kind of information the way you want. That is unparalleled and not doable in almost any product that we know of. And a cool use case of this would be, so this is your organizational view, but I can take this same information, a subset of this information, and put it in a new canvas, right? I can go in here, create a new workspace, and share that workspace with my customer or my client. So that client has a client view of the real data that we're working on here, and they'll always know what's happening. And they'll have a filtered view of what you're working on, the way you want to present it, but you don't have to look at that view. It's just a view, and your team is working on the main views inside the organization, and the client is informed all along. Since we're running out of time, I'll jump into another example real quick. So if I go into org structure, if I quickly explain all the areas that Creately touches at the start of this, something happened. Page. Get back. So Creately is able to cover from flowcharts, mind maps, the ideation stuff, to project management, to task management, to products and platforms. Let me jump into my char org structure. Right. And it allows you to cover almost every single aspect in organization, and you're able to basically run the entire business in Creately, and that's the intent of our new design. Now, so this is the organizational structure. This also has data and information bound to it, and it's very easy for you to structure and have the detailed view as well as the top level view. And because this is all fully customizable, you can build any kind of view that you want in Creately with very little effort. And that's really what I want to highlight here. And another use case that I would love to show here is an HR talent pipeline or a recruitment or an application tracking system. So because so this is a interview candidate selection hiring hiring Kanban board. So I have these people who we'll be interviewing, shortlist people, HR discussion, technical test, and so on. And because it's on a canvas and we have all this other capability, we also have how this stuff works, the flowcharts and the processes right next to the actual working documents. So how the business analysis assessment works, what the content there is, all the resources, attachments can be here. And the actual assessment and the status can be seen here with this little form right inside the panel, right? What is the status and so on. And so Vishal Raj is here, technical test and interview. If I move him, the panel, going here. So they're in presentation and discussion, the hiring status. If I move him back into technical test, it jumps back. So it works like an app, but it's actually on a canvas, so allows you to do so many other things. One last thing before I go, because this should have been should have shown this earlier. So Creately does not only work with content from our own systems. It also works with any external system. Now, what I have here is GitHub. GitHub, if you don't know, is a source control repository and a development environment that most of the world software builders use. So here we have code, we have product issues, and things that need to get done, all in this central space. Now, GitHub is one example. You can connect to your HR system, your existing project management system, your support ticket system, right within Creately. And I have authenticated against this. So it's this data that's been pulling in, I'm searching, is from GitHub. And label, I'm running a search that's usually, anyone who uses GitHub will know how the filters work. And these results I got is live from GitHub. Now I can drag and drop here onto the canvas. And once I drag and drop here, this data is coming from the source. I can drag and drop multiple things, or I can drag and drop the entire set to visualize in a single sweep. And any change I do here is reflected back into GitHub. Any change that GitHub does is reflected back into Creately. So that itself allows me to take the data that's stuck in a structured application. So the GitHub view is this, right? This is my view. I have this bunch of things that that we're supposed to work on, right? And I go in there. It has a bunch of content, and this list view is what I get. But what I want is to structure this stuff, have a relationship between this, show a dependency, and a due date so that it's on a timeline. All that is possible on Creately, because once you add, say I add a new field here, I'm going to add a due date. That due date is going to stay on Creately wherever I have this issue, and that allows me to build applications and wrap existing applications with new information. And another key thing that Creately does that I did not touch yet is roles. So you can add multiple roles in a single item. And so assume this issue is going through, has an owner, and the owner has a due date. I'm going to type owner so that both things are linked. And it can have multiple roles, right? You have a designer, you have a developer, developer. So this item now has multiple roles, owners, designers, and developers that's supposed to work on this. Once I go in here, I can assign somebody into that role. So I'll assign this to myself, and I'll give it a due date. So once I do that, it comes into my task panel, right? Inside my task panel, I have all the assigned tasks across Creately, whatever workspace that I'm in a single space. So now, under HRS projects, I have this item that I just added for myself. Actually, this one. That's due on 16 March. It has the information. And I can now put this in now, next, skip, blocked, or later, so that I might not want to work on it, or I can complete it. Once I complete it, it will go into the next stage of the workflow so that the designer can take on, or the developer can take on. So I can build flexible custom workflows, and I can have, for each role, we can have different estimates, different due dates, and that itself is supremely hard. As in, products don't allow to have one item. But what you usually have to do, if you have, say, a big thing that you're working on, and you have multiple people working on it, you have subtasks. You have to create those subtasks, and then those subtasks will have their due dates and estimates and so on. And the main task is separate from the subtasks. So there's a loss of context. You don't know where things are. But on Creately, because the same big item, so we have this big project that they're going to do, it's one item. And in that, all the multiple people, all the roles, all the tasks are tracked in a single space, and they can go through the workflow, through multiple workflows without a hitch, because you can attach roles and build custom workflows. So there's so much more that that I couldn't show because of the time limitation. But it's please come in, try Creately, explore. It's still very early days because we are building out more and more guides, help, and tutorials to access this advanced functionality, all the capabilities, and how to use it. Because it's a new paradigm shift. It's a new way to think about data, and we understand that. And there's a lot of education that's required for everybody to be able to use the power that this platform gives. And that's our primary focus, to help people understand how to use visual tools to get work done. And as you can see, when you have the big picture, the graphics, the visuals, as well as the details, it's very easy to understand and work with on any context. Ben, I have a few questions. So Ben, you're asking, can you aggregate and calculate a group of fields? Yes, you can. So once you build a relationship, once you do a lookup, you can use the lookup, the reference that you have. So you have the reference field. You can build a reference to say, candidate department master that doesn't have anything. The talent pool. I can build a reference and I can create this, and it gives me this entity lookup field and char related widget candidates, right? Because I didn't have anything to show you right now, and I can refer somebody here. And when I'm building the formula, I can refer this related field and get a value from them, something like, depending on what stage they are, do something in there. So you can build more things on top of these calculations. Can widgets be generated based on auto calculation? You can't generate widgets based on auto calculation because the items on the canvas has to come from data, but that data can come from a third-party system. So if you have linked to your support ticket system so that you can track your issues and support tickets in the same space, if you get a new support ticket, it will come into Creative. So going ahead and answering a few more questions. SVG viewport with parameters exposed as fields. We can't do, we don't have that capability, but it's a very interesting question. And we'll probably, look into that as we move forward. And we shall have a few questions. Data fields locked down. Yes, that's very important, isn't it? So you can, in a particular, so for example, in a situation like these interviews, right? So this is the overall HR view, and I'm going to add a number. Sorry, I already have one called package, and this person expects 500. It's 150, 150,000 is the expectation, and I don't want to show this to the individuals that are working on that are interviewing downstream, because this is the HR view. The interview stream would be in this view, the BA interviews, and that canvas is, the interviewing team members have the access to that canvas. So Vishal Raj information is right here, and I have functionality. I will, go here and add a dummy piece of information to show you. You can mark it visible to owners only, visible to editors only. We're adding more levels of permissions here so that some content is available to the admins, some content is available to the editors, some content is available to the viewers. And this stuff is blocked away from the server itself. So none of that information comes from the client, so that they will not have access to that information. Yes, so Ben, yes. So multi-user so you can share this to your organization, and you can share this at multiple levels, right? So you can share a single canvas, which is a view, with somebody external for your organization. You can share the entire folder inside the organization so that everyone in the organization has access to the content that you build inside that folder. So another quick thing, databases are bound to folders. So inside the folder, you have all these databases, and you can link existing databases into canvases by going to show more databases. Vishal, can you set another question? Can you set rules within Creately, change the color of a shape if your values falls outside a certain? So that's conditional formatting. That's actually in QA right now. We couldn't make it for this this cut actually. So this version that we're showing you is a little earlier than we would have liked, but we set a date for you, so we shipped. But things that are coming into the next couple of weeks include filtering, so condition-based filtering, so you can filter out certain information on the canvas or a certain area based on data values, and formatting, so you can change color or put icons on stuff based on what the data is. So that opens up a whole can of worms of possibilities of what you can do. Ben, specialized usage for classrooms. We haven't thought about this use case yet, but we'd love to pick your brain on it if you reach out to us on support, and we're setting up so because Creately is focused from being a very fine, very well defined end user visual collaboration and diagramming to all this this application builder. We are setting up a developer forum in the next couple of weeks, so that people can ask these questions. How much is Creately and much Creately is using this functionality internally? We are running the entire business on Creately. Gachaba, any plans on adding Gitlab? Yes, that's on our short list. Lots of people have asked this question as well. So we'll be adding. So the next couple of integrations to ship. So far we have shipped Google Sheets, and Google Sheets is shipping tomorrow. GitHub we've shipped. You can also do import CSV straight away as well. But we are shipping Jira, Bamboo HR, and Salesforce as reference implementations as first integrations. And we are also shipping Azure DevOps. So GitHub, Azure DevOps, and Jira in the first in line. We'll be adding GitLab support soon after. That's for the product development space. For HR, reference implementation comes with Bamboo HR. For CRM, Salesforce, and we'll be adding more domains as we go. So I think I've covered most of the questions so far. Yeah, thank you very much. And these are, I'm very excited to share this. This is, I'm very excited to see what people build with this because it's all about building your own experience inside Creately in this new way of thinking with this new visual paradigm. So thank you very much. Please ask any questions that you need from our dedicated support team. They are always available on your help channel. And thank you for joining. And also one more announcement. So we have a special offer for people who did join the webinar. You get 3 months of premium access to all these features. So these are available on the team and the enterprise plan tiers only. Upgrade you, and we'll give you a code to use. And after that, there's a 50% discount on everything for you guys as well, as a token of thanks for joining the webinar. Thank you very much. Our team will be in contact with you, and we'll engage with you soon. Thank you, and I'll close this off. Thank you, and have a good rest of the day.